back to Typecast Heroes, where we believe typology can save the world. I'm Amanda Fogelson.
And I'm Jessie Miller, and today we're going to be telling you all about the introverted feeling parent function. So as we go through this process, we have lots of resources on our channel if you are curious about anything with introverted feeling. But specifically, we're going to be talking about as introverted feeling presents for the second function, which is for the ESFPs and the ENFPs. So as we talk through this, I'm going to be referencing things that are specifically for, as Carl Jung called it, the ideal average. So it is the average of what these behaviors tend to manifest as. Now, as we go through this video, you need to be looking at the motivations behind the behaviors. Don't watch this and say, cool, that's me.
Yep.
Because odds are you're going to relate to some of it, as Amanda always says in the beginning of all of our videos. What do you always say?
Anyone can be anything. And while that's true, that's not the point of these videos that we are posting right now. Anyone can be anything and anyone can do anything, but there is motivation behind the behaviors. And that's what we want people to realize when they're going through this series with us, is what is your motivation behind what you're doing. In this video, we are specifically talking about introverted feeling as your parent function, which means that this function is meant to balance you. It is kind of what holds responsibility in your stack. So again, remember that this is all about the motivation behind the behaviors or the decisions, and motivation behind the feelings that you have towards an action.
So the parent function, it's a function that is meant to balance you. So for instance, Amanda is an ENFP. So her lead function is extroverted intuition. That's an extroverted function and it's a perceiving one. So all of our parent functions have the opposite attitude and opposite behavior. Opposite attitude and opposite tendencies. So for a extroverted intuitive, for Amanda, it's going to be introverted feeling. So she's an extrovert, but she's got an introverted process as her second. And then it is a judging function. It's one that she uses to make decisions. So the reason that I'm drawing that distinction is because for her, the parent function is something that you're not always super comfortable using. So when you have that function for any person, it's going to be kind of challenging. These are the things that balance us out as a person. So it's where we get a lot of our should statements, like we should be doing this. And when you indulge in that, when you listen to your parent function, it tends to make you feel good or positive when you listen to that function for yourself. It's also something that you use to project onto others. So you project it onto people that you admire. You project it onto people that you feel like need parenting. You're going to use that function to tell them what to do. This is also how you nurture people. So it can have both good and bad behaviors associated with it. So it doesn't make it positive or negative in and of itself, but we're going to be specifically talking about how introverted feeling looks when it is a parent function. Introverted feeling, we have so many videos on introverted feeling, but introverted feeling is when you have a personal system of what makes sense to you, what do you value, what do you consider to be important, what do you view as right or wrong. That is your system of beliefs, and it's judgment calls and decisions based on personal values. So behavior of the introverted feeling parent. If you are an introverted feeling parent, or if you have introverted feeling as your parent, that means that when you are nurturing people and encouraging them, you tend to encourage them using that function and to use that function in themselves. So for instance, if Amanda is giving somebody advice, somebody that she feels like needs nurturing or care, what do you always tell them to do?
To just be true to themselves and to follow their heart and kind of figure out what they want and what means the most to them.
Because that's what introverted feeling is all about. It's all about being authentic and being true to yourself. When you are somebody who is encouraging somebody or nurturing them, what advice do you most likely default to? Because if it is encouraging them to figure out their own beliefs, if it's encouraging them to kind of work out what makes sense to them and what do they personally value, and you're doing that because you want them to go off of that advice, that is an introverted feeling parent as it presents, as those behaviors are. So some of the struggles that come with a parent introverted feeling process is that you can project it onto others. So you can project it onto people, for instance, that you admire or you look up to. So you can look at them and you can say, I want to be like them. And you can assume that they are working from a system of values and beliefs because your parent function, again, is one of those ones that tries to balance you and to create a whole person. If you put an introverted feeler, or person who has introverted feeling as their parent function, in front of somebody that they admire, they can assume that all of the behaviors of the person that they admire are coming from an introverted feeling place. So that means that they assume the person is coming from a personal, authentic moral code, and they may not. They may be coming from a completely different place. But you have to understand that you have a tendency to project that onto people that you look up to when you have an introverted feeling as your parent function. Something else that can happen is you have a tendency to look down on those who are not using introverted feeling as a process. And so when you see someone who is not being authentic or who is not being true to what they believe in, then you can have a tendency to want to tell them how it is and tell them what to do.
It can kind of come across as a weakness. That's something that Jessie and I touch on in the FI versus FE video, that sometimes she's an FE user, so sometimes she'll do things to please those around her. And to me, that looks like being inauthentic and not being true to who she is, which is not the case. No. But sometimes it can drive me a little crazy when I'm like, why are you doing this for others when we don't believe in this? But that's not the case.
Right. So, and it's a struggle, right? It is a serious struggle for somebody who has.
You have to be very aware of that and try to not do it. It's almost organically built within you with an FI parent to want to parent them and tell them that they're doing it wrong and to do it a different way.
Also, because a person who has introverted feeling as a parent, the ESFPs and the ENFPs, they're naturally extroverted, so they want to do all of the actions. So sometimes one of their personal challenges is they can be so busy doing things, either using extroverted intuition for ENFP or extroverted sensing for ESFP, that they don't realize what they're doing does not comply with their introverted feeling process. And so when they give a moment for themselves, what happens?
You regret it. You look and you're like, what did I just do? Why am I doing this? Why am I stuck in this situation? And then it's like this ball of guilt and regret, and it's terrible.
Just as if a parent were chastising you.
Yes. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. Like, you're disappointed in yourself. Like, no one even has to tell you. It's like your FI is telling you and, like, shaking its finger at you. Like, why'd you do that?
You know better.
Yeah.
And this is a constant push and pull. This is not just something that happens every now and again for an introverted feeler parent. This is like a constant battle within them, a push and pull. And so they have to make friends with this function. They have to, like, make peace with it. And that's part of what we will be helping you do eventually once we get through all of these types of videos. So why it is in society's best interest for people to have introverted feeling and healthy introverted feeling parent functions, so healthy ESFPs and ENFPs, is because today, in today's society, there's a lot of nonsense being thrown at introverted feeling as a function. And even if people don't know those terms, they do know that your values are not right. They do not match mine. And there's lots of word vomit on the internet about it.
Everywhere. And not just like MBTI. We're talking about like worldwide news and politics and just the movements that are going on in the world.
And there's a lot of misinformation, and sometimes it's easy to just go along with what's being said and not really checking it against your own values. Or it can be easy when you're stressed to default into that's the most logical thing, but I'm not going to actually check to see if it checks my gut check, right? Yep. Like if it aligns with my personal values. So healthy parent FI encourages people to follow their heart and to do all of those mushy things.
Yeah. Even if it goes against society or goes against the grain, it's very important. If, again, healthy ESFP or ENFP, it's very important to them to make sure that people are being authentic to themselves and that they are. But again, parent, making sure that other people are too.
So now we're going to talk about a way to strengthen your parent introverted feeling process.
So I gave the same advice to the INFPs and the ISFPs who have FI hero, but I think it's something that I can personally relate to as an FI user, and it's been the most helpful thing in my life. So this is just personal example for personal growth, is for if you are an FI user, an FI parent user, a lot of times you can skip over that one and go straight into your third function, which is extroverted thinking, because extroverted intuition or sensing plus extroverted thinking, it's fun and it's comfortable. It's in the same attitude. So my first thing is don't skip over FI. Always, always, always check against FI. Don't go straight to TE because it's easier, comfortable. Go ahead and check in with your FI. And because again, if you don't and you just make those decisions based on an efficient process or what people around you think or whatever, then you have a possibility of ending up massively regretting it and being stuck in a situation that you would really rather not be in, for one. For two, make sure that you actually know what your FI is. I was challenged to actually label my FI, like put it in almost like columns, like a format of like what it actually means to me to be an FI user. What are my values and my beliefs? And that was really difficult for me as an extroverted type, but I did it and it all makes sense now. I'm able to kind of make decisions and see if it would filter under one of those. And has been so incredibly helpful. So that's for sure just a little bit of advice if you haven't done that already.
So this was just a short little video to talk about introverted feeling as the parent function. We really wanted to go into depth of how each function presents in each position because they present a little differently. And we do have full-length videos for each type on our channel. We do have full-length videos for all of the functions and function comparisons. And if at the time of this release it's not up, it will be soon. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can follow us. And if you are new to Typecast Hero and you do not know about the research, please go watch Welcome to Typecast Hero and then schedule an interview. If that doesn't sound enticing, I don't know what does.
Super enticing. And we're obviously really fun and want to talk to you. So come talk to us.
I'm sorry. I try really
you
hard.
You tried so
hard.
hard.
I try not to roll my eyes at introverted feeling all the time, but it happens. Sometimes I'm not perfect, guys.
She's gotten so much better. Go watch our first few videos and how many times she rolls her eyes at me then. Then you'll be hooked for sure and you'll subscribe. So anyways, thanks for watching and we love y'all.
See you next time. Bye.
Let's gather around the type fire and sing our type fire song. Our MBTITYPOLOGY song. And if you feel uncomfortable, then know there's nothing wrong.